I'm Jackie O'Kelly and I'm a cognitive behavioural psychotherapist. I deal with a wide range of emotional and psychological difficulties using cognitive behavioural psychotherapy, or CBT. I'd like to give you some information about a particular type of obsessive compulsive disorder, usually referred to as obsessional OCD. This is a problem that I see very regularly in my clinic, but is a particularly difficult problem to talk about. Firstly, I'd like to explain what I mean by the term obsession, and then I'll talk about compulsions. Obsessions are unwanted and intrusive thoughts, ideas, images, mental pictures, impulses or urges. The obsessions cause significant anxiety or discomfort to the person having them, as they're perceived as highly repugnant, wrong or unacceptable to them. They are hard to put out of your mind and can be harmful, violent, immoral, sexually inappropriate or sacrilegious. For individuals with obsessional OCD, these thoughts are very frightening and upsetting and can cause an awful lot of guilt and shame, precisely because they conflict so strongly with their own values and beliefs. Here are some examples. Intrusive thoughts or mental images of deliberately killing or physically attacking or harming a child, or another adult very close to them or dearly loved, or indeed themselves. Repeatedly worrying about accidentally or inadvertently causing harm to another person. For example, running over a pedestrian while driving a car, or pushing somebody into the road or onto railway tracks, or through poisoning. Recurrent fears of sexually abusing a child, or repetitive thoughts about having written or said something inappropriate, such as swearing at one's employer, writing some bad words in a letter to a friend, or making racist comments. Recurrent fears about sexual orientation, when in fact the person's sexuality is not in any question or doubt. Intrusive thoughts or mental images considered to be sacrilegious or blasphemous, such as wanting to worship Satan, or sexual thoughts about Christ. Compulsions are actions or behaviours, sometimes invisible or mental, other times observable and physical, designed to reduce the anxiety or discomfort caused by the obsessions, or perhaps by reducing any perceived threat or risk that the person believes having the obsessions poses to themselves or others. Unlike other forms of OCD, individuals with obsessional OCD will often report experiencing obsessions without observable behaviours. However, careful assessment frequently uncovers numerous compulsive behaviours, mental compulsions and rituals, and avoidance behaviours. These behaviours are not as easily recognisable as the symptoms associated with the other forms of OCD, like hand washing and lock checking, but they are clearly compulsive responses to unwanted obsessions. Here are some examples. Continually ruminating about obsessions or going over recent events in one's mind in meticulous detail. Having to remember, in an attempt to prove that they will not or have not done anything inappropriate. Repeatedly asking for reassurance that they've not committed an act that they perceive as being bad or wrong. Silently praying or repeating certain phrases in an effort to counteract or neutralise thoughts that one considers to be immoral or sacrilegious. Repeated confessing or discussing of the unacceptable thoughts with others, family, friends, perhaps other health professionals, in order to receive reassurance or to share the responsibility for having the bad thoughts. Avoiding numerous situations that they fear will trigger or set off their obsessions. Good news is that CBT, or cognitive behavioural psychotherapy, comprises of a number of effective approaches to obsessional OCD. A particularly effective technique is exposure with response prevention, ERP. This has been proven to be effective with all the different forms of obsessive compulsive disorder. I explain exposure therapy on another clip on my website. Please listen to that if you would like some more information. With OCD and obsessional OCD, exposure therapy is combined with response prevention, which is about reducing and eliminating the compulsive behaviours. Behavioural tests and experiments can also be highly effective. For obsessional OCD, a variant of ERP has been developed. This involves the use of imaginal exposure and uses key phrases or short stories based on the individual's obsessions. They are written or recorded and then used as ERP tools, therefore allowing the person to experience exposure to situations that cannot be experienced through traditional real-life exposure. When combined with standard ERP and other cognitive behavioural techniques, including education, this type of imaginal exposure can greatly reduce the frequency and intensity of these intrusive obsessions, as well as the individual's discomfort in response to the thoughts and mental images. A person with obsessional OCD is not dangerous, in fact far from it. It is important to remember that there is a solution and that effective CBT can enable people to overcome this particularly difficult and upsetting problem.